Okay, now I'm unmuted. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. I'm traveling. So, first and foremost, let me know if you can hear me, see me. In case anything happens with connection, please stay with me. And in case something really bad happens with connection, I'll record it and then I publish the video. So, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for adding your voice to the conversation. I truly appreciate you. This is, your voice and your contribution to anything I post or anything we discuss is really the idea behind why I'm doing what I'm doing. Factual news, and then also getting voices out as to what matters, what is important. Because believe me, even elected officials are reading what we are writing and what we're doing. So it does play a role. So keep on doing that. Can you hear me? All is good. If something is, whatnot, let me know. And I'll do my best to address the issue. And of course, comment and react to anything I'm saying. So, first things first, as I mentioned, I'm traveling. And so this morning, I was literally on a Delta flight when I was watching the news. And normally, because I'm in the news business, I am in the news, working with the news and statements in the White House specifically and NSC. So I don't really watch the news for hours. And so since I was on the plane, I thought, let's give it a shot. Let's watch some CNN. Let's watch some MSNBC. I'm watching MSNBC, Morning Joe. And there, while being on a Delta flight, I'm learning that they're quoting the Wall Street Journal reports that Delta struggles to regain footing after tech outage. And they're saying that there is literally no plane in the air from Delta. How, such impossible thing. Their shares go down, yada, yada, yada. Here you see my napkin from Delta. This is literally from the TV screen right in front of me, which made me really think, how outdated is actually the news media? Because if you think about it, what happens is, Wall Street Journal probably saw flights being canceled yesterday, wrote an article about it that came out in print this morning. Morning Joe reads the headline, reports it as current news. Meanwhile, there are planes in the air, everything is fine. There was not even a delay going out of New York City. So it really made me think how outdated or how past the time or past the current time the news media and the reporting is. And then, and I now feel what you're going through, because I saw, some different programs, MSNBC, CNN, whatnot. I do follow up, obviously, because I have to see what my colleagues are saying. But I'm sitting there for several hours just watching the news. So CNN only has the roundtable where people who have not much experience in foreign policy or national policy, even American policy, are commenting on everything. So it's just like, but everybody has a big ego and charisma and whatnot. But it's really sort of the blind leading the deaf. And then MSNBC, okay, Morning Joe has a lot of guests and they're circulating really fast, but it's really asking questions to have the guests deliver some prepared statements, because every single governor that they featured to comment on VP Kamala Harris and her amazing start within the 48 hours literally said copy paste the same thing, auditioning for the spot of VP. So it wasn't really informational. And then I'm realizing nobody reports on anything. Today was a very heavy duty day when it came to the news. A lot of announcements, a lot of actual news. And hence, I posted now with actual news. It was started as a joke. We will continue. So, what I decided is starting today, I'm going to have a readout on actual news. I'm going to cut out that piece with actual news where I'm literally reading out more than showing you clips and pictures. And I'm going to cut it out and put it as actual news. So, in case you're lost on my timeline or you want to listen or watch and you don't want to scroll and read, you'll have the ability to go and check on actually what the hell did happen today, because it's not presented anywhere. So I really feel sorry for people who are looking for information and finding opinion. Um, this is it has to change. And so for that reason, yes, I can hear you. Ah, Janetta, hello. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Harrison. Thank you so much for watching. And I clicked double time. So also with Honest Network, it expands. So there will be more reporters, more professionals, with the idea to deliver actual factual news. We need actual factual news. I cover White House and NSC. How about Congress? How about Supreme Court? How about State Department? So it will expand. So I will officially invite you tomorrow to a town hall, which is literally a Zoom or any other platform that I find secure, meeting with anybody who subscribes to what I'm reporting on, who wants to hear my ideas and offer your opinion. So my idea is to build the network based on what you guys want to, everybody that is within the network to report on, and also for you to vote on who you want to report. Imagine Congress, right? When somebody runs to for a place at the Supreme Court, they nominate them, and then they talk in front of the audience, and the audience votes as to the audience, meaning Congress, and they do counter examination, sort of like that. So we expand the network with people whom you trust, and then we can grow together. So I will invite you tomorrow to this town hall thing, because I really want to have your opinion, and I want to have that offline, meaning online but not really streamed anywhere, because this is internal. So now to the news. Of course, VP Harris secured the nomination. This was the news that sort of broke around midnight last night. And I was writing the newsletter, and if you subscribed and you were reading it, literally I just mentioned there, as I'm writing it, here's the breaking news. So which truly answered my questions, the questions I had about the DNC. Now, DNC still is meeting on Thursday to discuss about the rules and the rulings and policies and how they're going to make it happen. There is nobody running against Kamala Harris, so let's assume she's presumptive nominee, so she would be nominated soon. But let's wait as to the rules and regulations that they will come up with, and I will certainly report on that as well. Thank you. Deidre Young. I'm sorry if I mispronounce it. Spell it out for me if I mispronounce it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so the first readout that came out from Team Harris yesterday, it was a statement from Vice President Kamala Harris on becoming the presumptive Democratic nominee for president. She says, quote, "When I announced my campaign for president, I said I intended to go out and earn this nomination. Tonight, I'm proud to have secured the broad support needed to become our party's nominee, and as a daughter of California, I'm proud that my home state's delegation helped put our campaign over the top. I look forward to formally accepting the nomination soon. She said, I'm grateful to President Biden and everyone in the Democratic Party who has already put their faith in me, and I look forward to taking our case directly to the American people. And mind you, the delegates, right? And they didn't have to cast their vote for Kamala Harris, and she does not inherit them automatically from President Biden. His endorsement obviously showed everybody that that is his trust, that is his nominee, and he supports her, endorses her. But it was their decision, and she secured not just the amount needed, but almost doubled it. So that is some good news that sort of broke around midnight last night. Now, Trump, of course, had to react to it. And of course, it came in the form of a tweet on this True Social or whatever thing it is. He says, lying Kamala Harris, the Biden appointed border czar, who never visited the border, and whose incompetence gave us the worst and most dangerous border anywhere in the world, has absolutely terrible poll numbers. Check the poll spelling. It says triple poll numbers. Against a fine and brilliant young man named Donald J. Trump. Be careful what you wish for, Democrats, says this young, brilliant man, convict Donald Trump. Honey bunny. First of all, if we dig into it, Tsar is for males. I speak Russian for, don't wish, but I do. And it's Tsaritsa if you go into female role. But I'm glad he started spelling border right. But the poll numbers, it's POLL. What poll? What triple poll are we counting the numbers from for Kamala Harris? Questions? Altogether, and that's what I wrote in the newsletter yesterday. And if you read it, I'll repeat myself. But altogether, all the reaction that we're seeing from the MAGA community just shows that they're in disarray. They're very nervous. They're very stressed out because guess what? They put their budget into the ads targeting Biden. To this point, today, just now, minutes ago, I'm seeing ads, prepaid ads on X saying, bye bye Biden, you have to go, and and then just showing President Biden falling down the stairs and stuttering and all of this. They can't take out that advertising. It's prepaid. It will take time to take it out. Plus, since they don't really have a nominee, we talk about Kamala Harris being presumptive nominee. They can't switch advertising that many times. So now they have to sit and wait. And now the rumors, again, rumors, because I don't cover the Trump base, say that he is not that confident in the VP pick. And if you saw this infamous clip of J.D. Vance yesterday at his own rally in Ohio, talking about, well, Democrats make everything, or liberals make everything racist, and I just had Mountain Dew yesterday and today, and they're probably going to call it racist, and everybody started like, you have charisma for, dial-up internet. Like, what is happening? So then also the GOP started thinking, do we have the right nominee? Because now, mind you, Kamala Harris is, I think, 59. Don't quote me, but that's what they said today, at least on MSNBC. I should proof check that. But she is charismatic, she's knowledgeable, she's experienced, and she has prosecuted a bunch of folks like Donald Trump and the Silicon Valley base that does support him. Although this support is already fading. I'm going to share you that video of Elon Musk talking about MAGA and that. So we're going to check on that in a second as well. Rosie, thank you, Rosie. Thank you. Thank you for watching. All right, let's continue. Now, Team Harris is on a roll, and I'm going to read out here. Team Harris raised more than 100 million between Sunday afternoon and Monday evening, now boasting more than 1.1 million unique donors since Sunday. 1.1 million people donated for the first time, with 62% of them being first-time donors. So I correct myself. 1.1 million donated, 62% of them are first-time donors. This haul reflects money raised across the campaign, DNC, and joint fundraising committees. On top of that, Team Harris raised $81 million in its first 24 hours, adding to the existing near $250 million war chest already amassed this election cycle. With this historic haul, Harris for president saw the highest 24-hour raise of any candidate in history, with over 888,000 grassroots donors making donations. Vice President Harris' her trip to Milwaukee comes on the heels of historic momentum toward her election bid from grassroots donors and supporters, exactly the kind of grassroots energy and enthusiasm that wins elections. Speaking of which, she was in Wisconsin. So, talking about Wisconsin, before we cover her travel, let's talk about what the campaign has done there. And here is really an example that President Biden is playing chess, not checkers. And when Trump base was thinking, it's very easy election. Our guy is upbeat. He's 78, but he's upbeat. He's upbeat. He's young. He's beautiful. He's fantastic. But now Biden is falling. Everything is Biden, Biden, Biden. And so since the debate, which I questioned why the heck it happened so early, even though Trump was not even the official nominee at that time. So who came up with that idea? But regardless, since that debate, the campaign, the Democratic side, was in this catch-22, just defending Biden's gaffes and mishaps or stuttering. So it was all about Biden too. And to switch the narrative to talk about Trump was difficult, because then the conversation was but her emails, remember? But he's stuttering, but he is old. Now, this is obsolete. So now understand what does happen to the MAGA community when they invested millions, hundred millions of dollars to those type of ads that are absolutely obsolete. And I'm going to show you as tonight the very last video from JFK Jr., who still talks about Biden. And we're going to talk about him and warm and So Wisconsin, what kind of work has been done there? So Democrats have built a massive coordinated campaign in Wisconsin, which is now entirely focused on electing Kamala Harris as president. They have 48 coordinated offices across 43 counties throughout every corner of the state, with roughly 160 full-time staffers on the ground who have already begun knocking doors, making phone calls, and engaging their friends and neighbors to support Kamala Harris and Democrats up and down the ticket. So if you're one of those folks who's doing the calls, who's knocking on doors, who is donating, this is the praise for you, because that's a team effort. Now, every major Democratic elected leader in Wisconsin has endorsed Kamala Harris' presidential campaign, including Governor Tony Evers and every Democratic statewide elected official. Senator Tammy Baldwin and Congress members Gwen Moore and Mark Pocan, both stated legislative Democratic leaders and mayors of Milwaukee, Madison, Green Bay, and many cities across the state, the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, and over 90% and counting of Wisconsin delegates to the DNC. All of those have officially supported the nominee, or presumptive nominee. Today, VP Harris has traveled to Milwaukee area for her first rally. Since announcing her presidential campaign Sunday evening, it was her 9th visit to Wisconsin, and since becoming VP, and her 5th visit to the state this year. So I shared some information. I will share more poll reports. It was just so much today with with overwhelming news. But she talked about Project 2025. She repeated the part of the speech that I showed you yesterday, where she said that I used to prosecute guys like Donald Trump. I know his type. I know exactly how he thinks. I know where pretty much his, everything is buried. And, I will prosecute him. I will not just win, but I will prosecute him. So some bit of color and commentary post her appearance in Milwaukee. Just before departing, Wisconsin Senator Tammy Baldwin walked through the back of the plane to the press pool. So when asked whether the vibe at Harris rally felt different, she replied, absolutely. Then the press poll pressed on whether she had seen the same kind of energy and reception from Democratic voters earlier in the cycle. She replied, "It was delightful. I mean, they were really fired up," she said. "It was great to see." So, from what we see now, it's a shift. It's a shift in energy. It's a shift in enthusiasm. It's a shift also in believing in this victory. So that's what I see. And although I'm personally still digesting the news about President Biden, just because I cover him, and it is personal because you spend time close to somebody and you believe that it was quite successful campaign, but I do understand his point. Now, he will be addressing the nation tomorrow at 8 p.m. from Oval Office. I will share more information on that in a bit. So we will hear his reasons. No, he's not resigning. At least this is not what I hear. He will explain what prompted his decision. And honestly, now, days after his announcement on Sunday, I think the results will speak for themselves, which would make his announcement a bit easier to deliver. Um, so now, also today, 350 leading foreign policy and national security experts endorsed VP Harris for president. They called her the best qualified person to lead our nation as commander in chief. Go, woman. Now, the endorsement came in a letter signed by former national security advisors, secretaries of state, secretaries of defense, ambassadors, and top intelligence officials. Head of FBI, former Secretary Clinton, all of them are on this list. The leaders cited Harris' outstanding record of both diplomacy and leadership on national security as vice president, working closely with President Biden to restore U.S. global leadership and address high stakes global conflicts, including the U.S. response to Russia's war against Ukraine and Iran's attack on Israel, as well as U.S. strikes against Al Qaeda leaders. The leaders also noted that Vice President Harris brings more significant national security experience than the four presidents prior to President Biden. Mind you, 350 professionals when it comes to intelligence, when it comes to foreign policy, they said that she brings more to the table, right, than the four presidents prior to Biden. That's a lot. Having met with more than 150 world leaders and visited 21 countries over the past 3.5 years to advance U.S. interests around the world, they all agree Vice President Harris would be a strong and effective leader beginning on day one as president. And this sort of answers the questions to people who said, well, but how about foreign policy? What I realized, and because I, as a reporter, I cover mostly president and first lady, and so at some point I wondered, we don't hear much about VP. And then I contacted the White House press room and I said, can I jump on that pool and we'll cover it. And I realized how much she was actually doing. This is incredible that neither press pool nor any other type of media actually focused on what Kamala Harris has been doing. They see the official schedules, and that's what the MAGA-ville is now commenting on. Oh, she has one meeting in a day. Try to cover her. Just try to cover her. I've been on with meetings with Kamala Harris in the very recent past, meetings in the background where she shared her thoughts that should not be reported immediately or addressed in a certain way, but the way she would tackle things, the straightforwardness, the professionalism, the really separations from feelings and facts, that is really admirable. So that is my personal experience. Now, if you don't cover her, don't comment. Same as I'm glad to see more coverage from the second gentleman. We're about to see him, who he really is. I will share his statements because he visited today a reproductive clinic or the Clinic for Reproductive Rights, and he addressed the press pool that was questioning him, asking him to comment on Trump's nonsense about Kamala Harris. So I'm going to share it, and I'm glad that we see now finally the depth and the intelligence of the entire, top of the administration, right? Because we only cover POTUS, and it has been this, giggle and gaggle with the media, thinking, okay, is he doing okay? Is he falling? Is he not? Meanwhile, government does a lot. At least this administration does a lot. Quick comment check. Okay, people need to know what she has been doing. That's a big thing. Before, who are complaining are saying, is they're not aware of what she has been doing. Absolutely. Thank you, Karina. And that's why I'm covering it. And that's why I'm saying actual news. Follow, share. People need to know. It's not about me. I don't need follows. People need to know what is actually happening. There are no factual news. I watched this MSNBC or CNN for 2.5 hours and just came out dumber. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not, it just, but it's, can we compare facts? Is there facts? Where do people learn facts? Because then you open New York Times and then it feeds you more opinions and more anxiety. How else will you find out that POTUS today signed three, declarations declaring disaster in different areas, and one just came as recent as 5 minutes ago as I look at my email? Nobody reports on that. Will people in those areas even know that they have help available? And this is red states predominantly. So, okay, AOC send an email, and then that email she also mentioned today. We must come together to denounce the far right's harmful rhetoric, swiftly defeat Donald Trump, and end his threat to our American democracy. Kamala Harris is more than up to the task and ready to be president. It's now on us to rally behind her to elect her come November. The work we put in today will determine our success, so let's hit the ground running. So, also, Secretary Blinken commented on Kamala Harris. Now, mind you, Secretary Blinken only focuses on foreign policy. It's not his job to comment on presidents or administration, but he was asked, and I think he was even happy to deliver. So, watch this.
When it comes, I'm sorry, you asked about Vice President. Look, I don't, as you all know, I don't engage in politics. What I can tell you is this. I've known the Vice President for more than a decade. These last 3.5 years, I've been able to observe her very closely in the Situation Room, in the Oval Office, around the world, as a leading voice for American foreign policy and for our diplomacy. We've been together at the Munich Security Conference the last 3 years. I've seen her command the room full of world leaders from not only across Europe, but across the world. I think she's made 4 trips to the Indo-Pacific, helping to lead our diplomacy there. Deeply engaged in the Middle East and trying to find a peaceful path forward. Helping to drive investment in countries in our own hemisphere, so that people have opportunity in the countries that they come from, so that they don't have to make the hazardous journey to the United States seeking a better life, because they can get it in their own countries. In each and every one of these areas, she's been a leading voice in our administration. And what I've observed is someone who asks time and again the penetrating questions, who cuts to the chase and is intensely focused on the interests of the American people and making sure that our foreign policy is doing everything it can to advance those interests. And it's really been a privilege for me to see that up close these last 3.5 years. So thank you.
Did we know any of it? Comment, does this video and what Secretary Blinken shared come as a surprise to you? That she has been to Indo-Pacific several times, that she addressed leaders, not just from Europe, but from entire world, that she has been straightforward and commanding voice in terms of foreign policy and representing America on the global stage. Is that news? Because it's not being covered. It has not been covered. It is not covered now. We're sticking with, Kamala Harris was demanded to go to the border. She didn't fix the border. Meanwhile, there was a bipartisan solution. And then per Trump's call, it was called off and nobody voted on it. And then thankfully, President Biden passed the executive order, which now downgraded the number of illegal crossings by more than 50% as we speak. So it's not being covered. So we need to have factual news, and we need also to have press poll reporters asking questions about policy. not about feelings, not about trying to get breaking news, trying to get the gossip out of it. Ask about policy. When I'm there, I can do it. But polls, the press polls change. There's a whole schedule about it, but that's a talk for another day. Okay, so now, yesterday I shared that Nikki Haley's PAC that used to support her, and since she endorsed Trump, they started supporting the Democratic Party. So they switched, and now it is Haley voters for Harris. And so they allocated their budget now to Kamala Harris. And so today they received the cease and desist from Nikki Haley. And they have responded with this letter. I shared it also on X before. So they said, we have seen press reports indicating that a law firm representing Ambassador Nikki Haley has sent a cease and desist letter to our organization. We will review the letter with counsel once we receive it and provide further comment in the next few days. We enthusiastically supported Ambassador Haley over former President Trump in the primaries, and our mission is to encourage like-minded voters to vote for Vice President Harris in November. We do not claim to represent Ambassador Haley or her views. There are many other like-minded Haley voters, who also do not plan to support former President Trump in November. Our rights to engage with voters and encourage them to vote for Vice President Harris, who, in our view, is the clear better choice for our country, will not be suppressed. So, slam bam, thank you, ma'am. Right? So, you just see the MAGA side again acting, reacting with emotions, trying to secure the base while they're trying to pull the ads from everywhere because they just focus on Biden. Meanwhile, they can't even direct the ads towards Kamala Harris because we're waiting for her to become the official nominee. So they're caught in this dance. Okay. So to Elon Musk. The interview with Peterson, who I had this sort of, I respected him, and then he switched to the MAGAville, and it's like, okay. The interview premiered today at 3 p.m. on X. You can watch the full version. I can share it with you. But the biggest revelation there about Elon actually not supporting MAGA movement, and then he blames media for lying that he allocates $45 million to Trump, which he did. And then since the success of Kamala Harris as a presumptive nominee, he certainly withdrew. So take a look.
Make America greater.
He's not Make America Great Again, but he has been tweeting about MAGA for a month. And now America is already great. And so he's creating a super PAC, which will allow him to sponsor and donate to any kind of candidate that fits his narrative. So what is the narrative? Immortal. So it looks like, it's a joke, but like he opened Project 2025, was reading about women getting the rights, stolen from, and I like that, and I like this, and I like this. Oh, okay, let me donate. And then he arrived at the stage where they pass rules and regulations that do not benefit him. And he's like, I don't like that anymore. But I think the reality is no business investor wants to invest in failed or at businesses that are doomed to fail. Now, blaming media, that game we saw so many times, especially with this individual, blaming the media for everything. Meanwhile, planting conspiracy theories, spreading propaganda all around the platforms. And as I say that, I encourage you to follow me on YouTube and other platforms because of what I say. Now, this is just, let me know what your take on that is. He also mentioned later that, where is it? He also added that he does not subscribe to a cult of personality. Meanwhile, he has been subscribing and advertising the cult of Trump's personality. I can show you a bunch of tweets if you ask me. I'll do the work. I'll present it to you. I'll put the receipts. He has been supporting Trump for months. He bought Twitter to plant propaganda pieces, pro-Russia propaganda pieces, pro-Trump propaganda pieces, which is might be even the same thing. So now media is wrong for reporting the $45 million to Trump. But as Trump is losing his mind, also, he's trying to divert the attention from the ads that are really funky now because they're just outdated everywhere. His VP is not delivering because he is just a laughing stock with absolutely no achievement. And he can't change anything about it because the convention happened. And if he tries to, now the Democrats will be suing, not the Heritage Foundation. And on the other hand, you have the Heritage Foundation that did invest in this Project 2025, which did invest in Trump's support. Now, do you remember the tweet that I shared with you here, right? So, border czar, Trump calls Kamala Harris, and that she failed everywhere, most dangerous border anywhere, lying Kamala Harris. Okay? Okay, remember that. Hold thought. So today, House Rules Committee. The Committee on Rules will meet tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, the Capitol, on the following measure. Resolution strongly condemning the Biden administration and its border czar, Kamala Harris's failure to secure the United States border. MAGA is just delivering. They just take a tweet from the guy who, in the same tweet, called himself a brilliant young man and take it for a fact and file an official resolution using the exact words and slurs, pretty much, from this tweet. That's where we are. I physically do not understand. I understand I have to be not biased. And if I covered Bush versus, whatever, Clinton, if that would have been that situation, yeah, we could have certainly said, okay, this side says this side says that. There's positive, negatives, let's reevaluate and you decide. But now if one acts like insanity, led by a felon, convicted felon, and another side tries to prohibit that, plus Project 2025, who literally will overturn the Constitution, how can we be not biased? Because you also, as a reporter, have ethical demand or ethical privilege even to deliver on facts. Your opinion does not matter. Whoever pays you does not matter. And I'm not paid by the Harris and Biden and not. Absolutely not. But there's common sense because we decide what country we will live in, and everybody has a tool to contribute to your future. My tool is this. Okay? All right, rant ended. Okay, also Loomer, freaking lady, I don't know. I have no words. Anyway, yesterday she posted all over. Joe Biden died or is dying. Final preparations being made for him. He was supposed to leave Delaware, but his health has deteriorated. He canceled trips. This is Joe Biden today. As you see, alive, healthy, fine. By the way, his doctor shared a statement that he tested negative. He has no more symptoms. He overcame COVID faster than Trump overcame his ear situation. No band-aids needed. Everything is cool. He looks upbeat and actually in a good mood. This is very pleasing to see President finally in a good mood. And I shared some statements of his interaction between with the press pool when it was announced that he will be addressing the nation tomorrow at 8 p.m. from the Oval Office. And the press pool started asking, "What are you going to share? What are you going to share?" He said, "God damn it! How about you just wait and see?" And this was the Dark Brandon. So it's cool to see him in an upbeat mood. I think the decision was very difficult, but he sees the positive impact. And that just perhaps convinces him even more so that the decision was right. Although I feel you, it takes time. It takes time to process. Now, the Loomer Schmoomer lady, by the Laura, what's her name? Laura Loomer. So she is also rumored to be the press secretary for Trump if he were to win. Imagine the statements. The coverage will be wild. Um, but she also started spreading that President Biden gave up the powers through a memorandum that he issued yesterday on the help for Ukraine. And this went all around the world. And then overnight, I'm seeing reports from Ukraine. A friend calls my father today saying Biden died. So he gave up the rules to Secretary Blinken. He gave up the powers to treat, to deal with the aid for Ukraine. And he gave the Treasury Secretary Yellen all the ability to deal with it. People just do not understand how government works. Now, yes, Congress votes on the bill to allocate money for Ukraine, 60 plus $billion. And then Biden signs it. And then it doesn't come in a chunk. It's usually 98% of it is used to restock Pentagon's stockpile. So Ukraine is purchasing from Pentagon using that money allocated for Ukraine, which allows Pentagon to replenish its stockpile with the new, right? Sell F-16, get F-32 or 35, right? So and so on and so forth. So for that reason, other money that does remain has to be allocated somehow. Usually he gives the powers to Secretary Blinken because he's from the State Department, deals with foreign policy, Ukraine, and aid for Ukraine is within that scope of professionalism or scope of tasks, right? And so he gives him the powers to deal with that. President is not delivering to Ukraine a bag of cash. So now what happened with the memorandum, as you may have heard, it was suggested by Secretary Yellen, and then it was agreed upon to use the Russian assets and the profit on Russian assets to allocate money for helping Ukraine to rebuild. It's not going to go towards buying any weapons. It will be used to rebuild Ukraine because Russia does bomb Ukraine, does cause damage to infrastructure and everybody, right? So for that reason, who can tackle it is Treasury. So yes, President Biden gives the right to Treasury Department to do this, right? And then also Secretary Blinken, who deals with foreign policy and aid. So that was that memorandum. Now they put it all together and say Biden died. He also gave up his powers to Blinken and Yellen, so he's gone. And Ukrainian media starts spreading it all over the world. And I wholeheartedly, as a Ukrainian born American citizen, do not understand why are you biting the hand that feeds you? And I have been asking this for days. Why? There is no reason to succumb to any rumors, to spread them, to just cause any more nonsense, or meet with Johnson and to meet with Trump and get all this when the current administration selected you as a priority to help you, whose citizens are dying daily. So, should we not be a bit more mindful? Now, as to Treasury, so now back on this. Today, as part of implementing the historic, it's called Rebuilding Economic Prosperity and Opportunity for Ukrainians Act. They call it Repo for Ukrainians Act. The U.S. Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control has issued a new reporting requirement for financial institutions holding Russian sovereign assets. So, what they just advised all the banks and financial institutions to report on what kind of Russian assets are there, to estimate what can be collected, and so on and so forth. So it has been put in motion, which is great news, which is the result of that memorandum that letter. Okay. Now, more actual news. Today, Biden-Harris administration is hosting or has hosted a White House super pollutant, right? Sorry, I speak 5 languages, none of them perfect, so sorry. Well, few of them. They hosted the summit with U.S. officials, companies, environmental organizations, unions, philanthropies, and international partners to announce new domestic and international actions to tackle climate superpollutant and celebrate successes and reducing the damage to date. So that has been announced today. I received more details. It's very long briefing, so I'm going to put it into an article and share it with you. It's just important to see how much the administration is doing. It's not just foreign policy, Ukraine and Israel and Gaza. No, it's more to that. There is internal issues. There's allocating aid internally for anything that did happen, right? That just mentioned President Biden allocating money to Texas and so on and so forth. So we have to see the full scope of everything that the administration is doing. So when the next administration is there, you hold them to the standard, to a high standard, right? So other actual news today, Biden-Harris administration announced Energy Communities AmeriCorps, a new project that will engage 150 full-time AmeriCorps members serving with the VISTA program in advancing locally designed economic development, workforce readiness, and environmental remediation plans in energy communities as they gain skills and experience for good paying clean energy and climate resilience jobs. So that has been announced as well. Also a very long briefing. I'm going to put it in the article and share it with you. Perhaps it can perhaps it is within your interest that you would like to be a part of it. So also, since the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, U.S. Secret Service has been under pressure to deliver the facts, right? Yes, there is an investigation, an independent investigation ongoing. There are not many facts that can be shared, but yesterday the director of U.S. Secret Service was answering questions in Congress, which I shared the clips from. This is her first statement, so just to revisit how it started.
The Secret Service's solemn mission is to protect our nation's leaders. On July 13th, we failed. As a director of the United States Secret Service, I take full responsibility for any security lapse of our agency. We are fully cooperating with ongoing investigations. We must learn what happened, and I will move heaven and earth to ensure that an incident like July 13th does not happen again.
5 water bottles. Thirsty. Okay, so she could not answer many questions, and to the point where they said, do you know whether the shooter had the weapon when he climbed on top of that building? She said, I will have to get back to you on that. Was a weapon there waiting for him? Well, I have to get back to you on that. Were there any threats or inquiries into Trump rallies or anything that you thought were suspicious? Yeah. Well, how many? 2 to 5. You're director of U.S. Secret Service. So as a result, I know MAGA took it MTG and all this, and Mace, and they took it to a low level, calling her BS and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, both sides, it was bipartial, called for her resignation. And so today she resigned. She blamed herself for everything that U.S. Secret Service could not deliver on, and so she resigned. Now, President Biden issued a statement to that. I will read just a part of it. He said, as a leader, it takes honor, courage, and incredible integrity to take full responsibility for an organization tasked with one of the most challenging jobs in public service. The independent review to get to the bottom of what happened on July 13th continues, and I look forward to assessing its conclusions. We all know what happened that day can never happen again. As we move forward, I wish Kim all the best, and I will plan to appoint a new director soon. So, again, we'll have to see. As I mentioned yesterday, there are people who have served in the Secret Service, U.S. Secret Service. There's people who served in the Army. There's people who have extensive knowledge about AR-15 and the shootings and what the damage it can cause, saying that that statement by the doctor, Trump's doctor, who lost license in 2020, the drunkard who said that, well, there was a hole for 2 centimeters, but no stitches were needed. A Band-Aid was good enough and all that kind of stuff. They think that facts just not align, and we need to have an independent review and medical report and CT scan, because from what they think, we just need more explanation. Nobody claims that something is either way, but we just need facts, and certainly there are no facts. So also today, finally, to second gentleman, Emhoff. I told you that he visited a reproductive rights clinic in Virginia, which suffered from the consequences of overturning Roe v. Wade. They have a new building, they have a new hospital that they cannot open as a consequence. And so he was a part of the panel talk and the roundtable, and I'll share details on that as well, which was impactful. I think it is impactful just for a fact that the second gentleman is attending this roundtable and talks about women's rights, women's reproductive rights. He also mentioned, and I'll share the brief with you on X and on the website and in the newsletter, that the man is only a real man if he cares about women's rights and reproductive rights and understands the importance of caring for the rights, which I think is just refreshing to hear, and gives hope to women. So while visiting the clinic, he responded to a question from Press Pool to comment on the harassment that has been coming from the Trump side. Yesterday, I shared this Laura Loomer, like collecting millions of views for stating that Kamala Harris doesn't have children because she probably had abortions and it damaged her uterus and all the nonsense. So they asked him. And so here's what he said. He said, that's all he got? Look, you heard the vice president yesterday making the case against Donald Trump very clearly. Laid out the case directly and in a compelling fashion. But she also laid out a vision for the future, a vision where there's freedom, where we're not having to talk about these issues of today in this post-ops hellscape that Donald Trump created. So we need to, yes, we're going to prosecute the case against Donald Trump and his lies, his gaslighting, his during COVID, the disrespect of the duty, inciting an insurrection, and all those other things. We're going to make that very clear. She's going to be able to make that case. And then later he shared, you see the enthusiasm, you see the excitement, you saw the money raised, you saw the party coalescence, the party uniting, you saw the broad base of support that she had in just 1 or 2 days, because she's talking about an America that we all have a place in. And that's why Kamala Harris, who I'm so proud of, I'm also so proud of the president. I got choked up yesterday when president called into the staff meeting in Delaware while Vice President Harris and the second gentleman were visiting. He said, I got choked up yesterday in Wilmington. All of us did. What a great man. Love Joe Biden. And just to remind you, the last race, when Kamala Harris was finishing her speech in Delaware at the HQ, she kind of checked up on president and said, well, maybe he already disconnected from the call because he was calling from his home as he was isolating, still waiting on that negative COVID test, which he got today. And then president said, no, I'm watching you, kid. Love you. Which really added the personal touch. And really, it is Joe Biden. That is Joe Biden that you know. Also, if you work with him, you also know the version of Joe Biden that is not the sassy, dark Brandon, but who's very straightforward, very strict, and will ask you so many questions until you don't have answers to, and you have to run back and get them for him. Okay, a few comments. The excitement with Kamala Harris is reminding a lot of people 2008. Absolutely. Yes. The Obama time. She's going to win. Part of vote with your friends, family, young people. We don't vote, we register, vote. We need turnout machine to win. Yes. And this is the way also to, there need to be a change, and I will certainly speak to certain people about it. That's why I want you I want to ask you to participate in the town hall, because I want to hear what you want. Because we need to also, with the new administration, regardless what administration that would be, we need to establish a way to have factual reporting. I'm cool on reporting on the White House and NSC. We need reporting on the Congress, because imagine how many facts are getting lost there, because it's all clickbait. Supreme Court, also, foreign policy, State Department. Where is the factual news? Because we only hear about, let's say, you hear about, when it comes to foreign policy, probably Ukraine, Israel, Gaza. You don't hear, well, now Lebanon, Hezbollah, that. But you don't hear what today Secretary Blinken was doing and meeting with, and that today the Minister of Defense of Estonia was meeting and receiving this full-blown welcome at the Pentagon today, and talking about collaboration. You don't hear about Secretary Austin traveling to the Indo-Pacific now for numerous times next week, and spending all week going to Philippines and all other countries and uniting everybody in case we have an escalation with Taiwan, since China stopped talking about the nuclear collaboration, cooperation, and updates. So we don't hear about it. We need factual information. And so for that reason, I want to have a network of people whom you can trust, that you are informed. Because if you're misinformed, you're nervous. If you're nervous, you're anxious. And that has consequences that manifest in physical, disabilities or physical, ramifications. I see it in my family. I see it friends, on my friends and their families. They're nervous, they're anxious, then the blood pressure goes up and all that kind of stuff. And it's all driven by this clickbait of nonsense that really does not deserve your attention. So for that reason, I just want to do a bit more, on that. Love your news updates. And else news about Biden Harris. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And again, this is not just about Biden Harris. We're going to work on everything. So God forbid there is a change in the direction administration, will be more so important to report on facts there. Because if we dive into Project 2025 world, God forbid that will be the result, we will need to keep our head on a swivel. So that will be a very different type of task that I don't want to think about, but would have to if needed. So we have to prepare. She's going to win. Yep. Shared this comment already. Okay. POTUS news, real fast. He tested negative. I shared with you the letter from the doc. He tomorrow will address the nation at 8 p.m. from the Oval Office. I will share the link where you can watch the full address without commentary. I strongly suggest you to do that instead of tuning into mass media where they talk over. And just from my experience, I can share videos from my phone with you. On July 4th, I was at the White House, and President was speaking out. And this was post-debate. So everybody was all about, is he going to fall and stutter and all that kind of stuff. And he starts speaking. And a Sky News reporter, Sky News, the Murdoch thing in Australia, turns with the back to the president who's speaking, and we're all looking at him, and stays in front of camera and says, well, President Biden starts speaking now. He's lying again. He's stuttering again while he's speaking. That was just a whole thing for me, like a very weird situation. You're here to report. Meanwhile, he starts speaking and you talk how bad he is in it. Yeah. Okay. So Thursday, he's meeting with Netanyahu. I shared with you Netanyahu's address, or the video, answering questions about what he's looking for when it comes to the meeting. He wants to talk about, of course, the peace deal, but also hostages, also the northern Israel border and what's happening there with Hezbollah, who is now officially sponsored by Russia. So there are a lot to discuss. There will be a meeting in the Oval Office, will be closed press, but I will report on any facts that I get as soon as I get. So then, well, before that, this is Thursday. Wednesday, Netanyahu is addressing Congress. Again, I will report on that as well. There are several elected officials from both sides, Democrats and Republicans, who allegedly plan to leave the room when he's addressing. Again, we'll report on that. This is what, the talk of the town is. Again, I don't cover Congress, so, take it for what it's worth. Thursday, Netanyahu is meeting with President Biden. And then we don't hear anything else. And then, of course, the tweet in chief tweets that looking forward to welcoming Bibi Netanyahu in Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida on Thursday. So right after the meeting with President Biden, he flies to Mar-a-Lago. And he says, during first term, we had peace and stability in the region, which is bullshit. Even signing the historic Abraham Accords. And we will have it again. Just as I have said in discussions with President Zelensky and other world leaders in recent weeks, my peace through strength agenda will demonstrate to the world that these horrible, deadly wars and violent conflicts must end. Millions are dying. Kamala Harris is in no way capable of stopping it. Well, it's the same story as, we have this joke in Eastern Europe, the dragon is unbeatable. And then who said it? The dragon. Well, the dragon says he's the best with everything. Well, who says it? It just, to remind you when it comes to Ukraine, because we don't know anything what his plan is for Israel. We're going to hear about it tomorrow, probably from another tweet, and I'll report on it and I'll fact check it. But if you think about his deal for Ukraine, which was reported by Johnson and sort of suggested by Johnson, but then said this is a Trump thing. But then again, it was presented by Johnson, so it's probably Johnson's thing. Who knows? But the point was to give up occupied territories and go even more so to fully give up the regions, give up Crimea. Let NATO sign that NATO will not go eastward into Ukraine and Georgia. Now, Johnson's version is Ukraine will join NATO and put the troops there and send American troops back home, which will save money for America. Now, do you understand why American forces are in Eastern Europe? This is a very simple question. I hope you do. This is not to fight, but to have American presence so nobody dares to invade NATO borders and NATO countries. That is why American forces are there, because it is needed. Replace them with Ukrainian forces. Now, what's that going to do? America is not present. America, the nuclear superpower, is present, so nobody dares. Replace it with any other country, specifically Ukraine. And then what? Ukraine has been a nuclear power, right? The second in Europe, second strongest, until US, UK, and Russia have convinced Ukraine to give up the nukes to Russia. And that's the same nukes that Russia is threatening to use in case of any further escalation. Okay, just to fact check. So then Friday, President Biden will travel to Camp David, where he will stay until Sunday. And we hear more as soon as we do. Now, on Monday, President Biden will travel to Austin, Texas, which was, to remind you, he's supposed to have the interview with Lester Holt in Austin. He ended up having it at the White House a week ago. Just a week ago, sounds like a year ago. So much has happened. But then he's supposed to have that in Austin, Texas, and visit them. That got scrapped because of the assassination attempt on Trump. So because that's supposed to be literally a day after. So attack was on Saturday, and Monday he's supposed to travel. The president will commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act during a visit to LBJ Presidential Library. So they're just rescheduling the trip. Now, VP, Vice President Harris, Thursday this week, she will return to Houston, Texas to deliver the keynote speech at the American Federation of Teachers 88th National Convention. So the visit will be her second trip to Texas this month. So that is on VP and president and second gentleman and first lady. By the way, first lady is traveling to Paris. I reported on that. She's headlining the delegation to the opening ceremony. Did I freeze? Good Lord. Did I freeze? Okay, if I froze, I'll be back as soon as I can. Why is this happening? Jeez. Okay, I'll be back. I'll be back. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. You didn't want to miss that video because this video is important. So I switched states and this happened. Sorry. Okay. So we talked about the Republican side. We talked about Democratic side. Now there's this sort of independent side, right? Represented by RFK Jr. RFK Jr. gave a press conference, mind you, on Sunday, post the announcement that President Biden is withdrawing himself from the race, right? Or withdrawing from the race. Check out this. Let me know what your thoughts are.
On the Republican side, President Biden promised the last time around that he was going to drain the swamp, and President Biden's the attempted assassination. If President Biden gets elected, it's going to become more toxic.
Well, you're still focusing a lot on President Biden, but he's announced for hours now that he's out. Were you just confused, or have you moved on from it? It stood out.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you all very much for coming out here on a Sunday.
So that was his address to respond to President Biden's changes and plans. But then I didn't get any of it. I don't know what he was saying. Was that the war? I don't know. The warm thing comes to mind. Not sure. Well, what we are sure about is this. When we fight, we win. And this is really, sort of a motivation, even though when it comes to, media and factual information, that's what I take personally as my mantra, not because of, Democrats and election and Republicans or whatnot. When we fight, we win. And honestly, we need to, at this point, fight to get factual information. And this is the fight that I'll, step up to, and really would love for you to join very briefly to like the town hall thing for me to share some ideas and to hear your response so I can design something that serves you. Because ultimately, I think any informational media has to, or any media source has to serve the consumers. So for that reason, we have to serve you to inform you about issues that matter to you and also that serve your interest, and not just to feed this fast food type of information. It's fast, it's colorful, it's provoking, it manifests in clicks and shares and gives those little coins to somebody who presents that. All that is not even opinion, it's manipulation. So I think it has nothing to do with when it comes to the government. I can't stand RFK Jr. That video was edited. He did in fact confuse Biden, Trump, and the ending was accurate. Yeah, it was edited, of course, because they swapped the parts. But my point is, we Democrats took away the entire point of, well, everybody's old. Everybody's confusing, right? Because that is now their explanation that everybody is old. It's all cool. No. Well, now you have a 59-year-old young, upbeat, knowledgeable woman and two old guys, right? Kennedy is what, not the same age as Trump, but slightly younger. So is there any difference? And also, I'm not sure why he's still, like, is he on the ballot? Is he not? Because we talk a lot about DNC putting on the ballot, not putting on the ballot, Heritage Foundation suing Democrats for changing the candidate. Nobody talks about RFK Jr. What is he running on? Is that a money situation for Silicon Valley, given his VP choice, who is the ex-wife of the Google founder, who is Russian, by the way? So is that donation towards his campaign something that excites people to avoid tax? What is the point here? So, for those who cover that part, I wish we had any type of question. 70. Yeah. So, we have somebody whose age starts with a 5 compared. So a joke that I've heard on Morning Joe, which was that was, I guess, the best part of it, when he said that, commenting on age situation, that when Kennedy ran for president, the reporter said, "Oh my God, it's so wonderful to see young man's hair, compared to the other candidates." And now when you look at Kamala Harris, you think, "Oh my God, it's great to see hair." So again, for what it's worth, it's their joke. I don't claim to own it, but thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be live tomorrow. Tomorrow, I want to, again, focus on actual news. I'll have readouts. I'll bother you with those readouts because you deserve to know it. I always ask you, please, please, please subscribe to Substack, honest.substack.com. It's free. God forbid something happens here, I can still report there. There's a ability to share videos and comment and all that kind of stuff. And if you're watching on YouTube, Honest Network, please follow, and so we can connect there as well. I'm just uncertain about this particular platform if you're watching on X, because of all the other issues mentioned above. So tomorrow, to my coverage, I will also add, I will explore and show some clips of potential VP candidates that Kamala Harris is considering, Kelly and all others, and so you can build an opinion who you want to, pick if you were to pick the VP, and so we will discuss that more tomorrow as well. So it's a great to actually hear facts. Actual news is exactly what's missing. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So now I'm using this hashtag actual news. You guys started it. Start as a joke, but do you think the elections that have happened in UK and France are happening here too? Yes, absolutely. And I think it is sponsored by the Russian assets. And I can explain it to you on that town hall on Saturday, because I don't want to explain it here. But again, join me. You can ask me questions. I'll answer them. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll try to be earlier, but I think 9 p.m. would work because I'm just not where I usually am. So please bear with me, but you can always watch it on replay. So thank you for joining. Have a peaceful night. I see you tomorrow. All right. Bye, guys.